Welcome, Adventure. I'm GM Goblin, your GM Goblin. And today, we're going to have another Reddit raid. So stick around with us as we go ahead and take a look at our first question that pops up. So this individual goes into a fairly long talk about being an undead character. They're doing the Dread Necromancer from 3.5. It is fantastic. I've talked about this class before. It is one of the classes that you could probably just hop right in to Pathfinder, in all honesty, from 3.5. And it is pretty great if you have a lot of undead. You basically have unlimited healing with this. It's pretty good. I talk about this in some of my other videos that I have from a few years ago when I go into necromancy real big. I go into occult necromancy and I go over everything from best classes really to play as a necromancer to what you're doing. So those videos are from a while back. They don't have a lot of views, so go give them a view, look at them. Remember to like, subscribe, and stick around for some more content that I produce. But on with this raid. This character mentions the Brewer's Guide to Undeath, which, if you don't know, there's a lot of good undead tips, feats, hints, all Pathfinder oriented, really. And so they go through a little bit of content, which is pretty good. There's several guides out there. If you want, I can make a video that is specifically undead and how to use them. But they talk about the problem of getting charmed or having someone use Control Undead, not just on them, which would be really bad, but also on their minions. And then if they both have Control Undead, who gets control? So a lot of times when you have an effect established in Pathfinder, depending on the situation, it is going to either uphold the original effect or it's going to be taken over by the new effect if it's the same thing. So you're looking at a little bit of an argument with this, but some of your rules, I think, are going to be best with using the charisma option, which is going to be whenever you have two conflicting control spells. And you can do a search for this and you'll find it written multiple times. But if you have 2 levels of Control Undead, then I recommend having a challenge between each character for their charisma check. So you are rolling conflicting checks between them to see who exactly is going to be able to control the minion. I do recommend that if you have higher level control spells in comparison to, say, just a normal cleric effect, being able to take control of undead, I would recommend allowing the spell because it's the expenditure of resources. It's going to be taking over those individuals, and then your cleric can expend resources and their battle of wills can continue from that. But you have a few people that have mentioned pretty much the same thing when it comes down to it. But that's what I recommend whenever you have conflicting fights. Now, this is not going to mean that if you have control of an undead and someone casts, or a person, and someone casts something like confusion, they're just confused. It's a different kind of ability. It is going to be put on top. So even though you have control of them, when they act normally during confusion, you're fine. Otherwise, they're going to go by the confusion spell. And of course, I understand it's mind affecting and confusion, but you get the idea. It's the fact that that kind of spell coming on top is going to be in play along with the control of the undead or the control of the person and not negate it or remove it entirely. If you are a necromancer and you want to do something, you can always get something like, for the title, protection from evil. You get protection from evils on yourself and give yourself resistance to being charmed. And if you are an undead itself casting this, then I would also mean that would be for control of yourself or being controlled. Another thing that I would look at, being undead in Pathfinder is a little iffy sometimes with the rules. I like the Necropolitan rules from 3.5, in all honesty. The hit dice is the one thing that I would really change. That way you don't have a hit dice of 12 going to any class. But I would just use this template because in 3.5 it worked out pretty good. And it gives your player a little bit of resistance so that they don't feel to target it. And the bonuses are only +2, which means they're still in line with what you're going to get for being an elf or a half elf or something. So that's what I recommend if you're going to run a undead character in your campaign, or one of your players is. Necropolitan is still pretty good, but there's multiple options for undead in Pathfinder. Our next question is going to be from Captain Pinchin. Non-magical way to lock up magical users. This is something that, even though I play a lot of high magical campaigns, definitely something that you should think about as a GM, because in a world where anyone does not have magic and magic is present, they're going to think of ways to take care of casters. But specifically, most people in the campaign world are not casters. How would non-magical city watch arrest and contain spellcasters? Thought of Ichi having an alchemal, iron collar, or something like that. So he specifically mentions anti-magic field. Anti-magic field is a good way. It is expensive. It is also magical, but it would be a way that someone could have a field put in. You could definitely probably see this with a large city. Other ways to do it, dealing with it. Let's just go over gagging characters, binding their hands if they can't do any somatic components, anything like that. Taking their components if they are a wizard, because you have to have components. I was a real stickler a long time ago, especially when I did 3.5, and you had to have listed for every single spell that you had. When I played a caster, I had a list of if it was made into a ring or whatever it was, but I was very specific. But taking their components away, tying them up, gagging them, and blinding them, because most spells must have some kind of verbal component. A lot of spells have to have somatic components. And then spells have to have line of sight or the ability to perceive something in some way. And taking away any of those is going to drastically decrease the ability of your caster. Now, you want a couple other ways that you can deal with them, maybe as you have marshals going to arrest your very powerful casters. Anti-magic field. Perfect. It instantly is going to take your players down a huge notch because all their bonuses are gone. Your spellcasters, they're useless. And this is outside of doing something I do, which is going to be the Mage's Disjunction. I've done 2 of those at one time on my players. Hated me. It was hilarious, but they hated me. We're going to look at some other ways to do it besides anti-magic field and breaking their items entirely, which anti-magic field is great. If you're going just against casters, I think someone mentions it down here, but one thing that I've used quite a lot is Areas of Silence. You put it on a magic item, your marshals walk in, just like gagging them from a distance, your casters are going to be up a creek. Because there's a lot of things that they're going to be limited by because it takes out their verbal, unless they have enough levels and feats to increase the spell level of what they're casting and do non-verbal spells. Another thing you can do, grappling. You must make a concentration check while grappled 10, plus the CMB, which should be high if you're going to grapple them, plus spell level. My character in Mummy's Mask is a kineticist, and I specifically took, because I have a wall and I'm air, but because I have wall, I took grapple at our mid levels because I can make a wall and grapple all the casters that we see in a party. And so, as long as they're not immune to electricity, really high grapple checks or something. Thanks. But regardless, another thing you can do is something like Stunning Critical. Stunning Critical is going to at least stun them, usually for a round. And then, of course, you can add to it when you have multiple. My wife's character will probably never get this because I don't think she's going to get to 18, and she'd have to be 19 to use it unless it goes on a weapon. I guess she can use training for it. Maybe I'll tell her that if we're got enough time to prepare for the final fight in this campaign if we go to 18. But it's a great way to do stun. Stunning, they can't take an action. So they're going to be severely limited on the spells they can use. My wife has used this in our other campaigns, like when she played a monk, being able to stun your target. And this is, of course, when they were 17 through 20. But another thing is Style Strike. Where is it? There it is. Throat Crush. You get a sharp blow to a throat, and they have it. They can't speak for 1 round, which you could say that doesn't allow you to talk, but it specifically says Caster Croak Spellblike. So this is what the function does, which automatically gives them a 20% chance of failure. So even Karzog, which I believe she used it against Karzog, is going to have a 20% chance of failure now. It doesn't matter what his stats are. You roll a percentile dice. It's an equalizer. It's fantastic. Spell blights, as we just mentioned. You can use it from bestow curse, major curse spells, things like that, witches. You can cast curses on them, give them a spell blight, and they are instantly going to have a 20% mischance on all their spells. And then, of course, like I said, manacles and things, blindfolds are great ways to control your wizards. I know I have players that say, well, magic fixes everything. And that's partially true. There's a lot of mundane ways that you can really screw with your caster. This next one's going to be looking at your non-magical healing. Now, most of us are always going to have some kind of healing character or someone who can use a Wand of Cure Light Wounds, which is the most effective way to do healing, in all honesty, and probably the best resources unless you have extra slots that are free at the end of the day and you don't need them. But this person specifically uses a real-life event, them getting sick, to wondering about how you're going to heal yourself or how players heal themselves without magic. And there are several pretty interesting ways. First, we're going to look at the healing rules for rest. And your downtime, 8 hours of rest, you get 1 HP per level per day, and 1 ability point damage for each affected ability score. Okay, that's common. Everyone knows that. If you spend a full day's resting in bed, you receive another 1 HP per day and ability score. So it's a great way for your characters to, especially if you're like me and sometimes you don't have the appropriate caster, because they love clerics, then it's a great way for you to be able to heal off that ability damage is usually what we have to use it for. But that is definitely one way. Healer Satchel is a great magical item, but it helps with your mundane skill for healing checks. Now, this adds some extra bonuses of so many times per day to adding your wisdom modifier, getting bonuses to your heal checks, allowing you to apply aid more often. But let's look at the heal skill check, and then we're going to be talking about what I really recommend for really large healing, and it'll save you some spell slots. So whenever you look at healing, the ability, you can look at drugs providing first aid, negative hit points. You can use it to become stable again. You can look at bleeding characters. You can provide long-term care. This kind of goes along with your full day of rest. And you treat wounds for a day or more. And then your heal check is successful. The patient recovers hit points or ability score points at twice the normal rate. So even if you're without magic or you're resource starved for some reason, maybe I did that to my characters, you have a character with a healing check, they get to have that ability to where they are dealing or taking care of their party members. And they really get that bedside manner thing where instead of them just getting 2 per level or 2 ability drain removed, then they can double it. And so long-term care is something that a lot of people really forget to look at when they look at it. Treat deadly wounds. This is using a healer's kit, normal healer's kit. And then when treating deadly wounds, you can restore hit points to a damaged creature. Treating deadly wounds restores 1 hit point per level of the creature. If you exceed the DC by 5 or more, add your wisdom modifier for this amount. Creature can only benefit from its deadly wounds being treated within 24 hours of being injured and never more than once per day. So the action time, 1 hour. This is normal. We're going to fix this. And then once per day. This is your normal rules. We're going to fix this. You also have obviously treating diseases, treat poison, healing skills. If a GM uses them, can really make a character feel like those skills that they have an impact. Don't even have to spend the resources for it. And they can get that, I am the taking care of the weak, or I am the provider of care, I am the doctor or nurse or whatever. Now, we're going to look at feat, which is going to help us with your healing skill, and specifically when it's treat deadly wounds. So, when you use a heal skill to treat deadly wounds as a full round action now, you do not take the penalty for not using a healer's kit. Okay. When treating deadly wounds this way, you can do so on a given creature more than once a day. When treating deadly wounds this way, if your result exceeds DC by 10 or more, add your ranks and knowledge of planes to the damage healed. These benefits do not apply to creatures that are not healed by positive energy. number of times a day equal to your ranks in planes. So this is very common. We have multiple campaigns where we use this, where whatever your character is going to be your healing bot, whether they're actually a caster or not, they're going to be using planes and they're going to be using heal and ranking them up. And it is preferable to have a character with a high wisdom or the ability to move that heal check from wisdom as a necessary stat. But this is our first feat. One of the next things we're going to be looking at is going to be your healer's hand, or sorry, incredible healer. This is going to require healer 5 rank, your heal in 5 ranks. When you use your deadly wounds treating with your heal skill, target heals a number of hit points equal to either the result of your heal check or the normal amount, whichever is higher. So this is also going to be applied. It's going to be really good, especially at early levels whenever you get it, and it just increases from there. Another thing we're going to be looking at is going to be your skill unlocks. Now, these are going to be from the Unchained, and we're specifically, obviously, going to be looking at heal. Heal is going to, at different ranks, allow you, when you treat deadly wounds, obviously, recover more hit points and ability damage. Say if you've rested for long-term care, rested for 3 days, it is one of the things that you're going to want to take that is going to increase your ability, not only to increase the actual heal effect, but is going to allow you to get rid of any of your damage that they may be taken from ability damage. It is definitely something that we like to do. It's a great way to heal. I had a Oracle in my last up to 20 campaign, and she could heal like 500 plus damage just by having these skills. It was ridiculous. So all of her other spells got to do whatever she wanted, although most of the time I think she just left them. But regardless, another thing that you can do is, here we go, acupuncture specialist. It's another feat. This is more if you want to do with curse descriptors, being able to use a heal check and remove single curses, things like that. In some campaigns, it's definitely going to be worth it. And then healing and repairing wounds. Heal is a class skill for you. You can use the treat deadly wounds aspect of heal one additional times per character per day. Now, this is going to be a inner gods kind of feat, and you have to be worshiping Thon Kuthon. But this is going to be a way for you at low levels to be able to get a little extra healing out of this and extend it, especially if you're in a low magic campaign. You're in a low magic campaign and you don't want to sit around for a week or more to heal up. I recommend going with Healer's Hand. You can spare the feats. I recommend going with Healer's Hand and Incredible Healer and Skill Unlock because it pays for itself in spades as you level up. It's fantastic. Either way, enjoy your game this week. I know I'm going to, and I'll see you around. If you're into video games, check out my other channel. I have just posted a few videos on there at Goblin Plays. The link should be in the description below. Have a good weekend. Roll me some 20s, guys.